new patch notes incoming from the pre-patch podcast. Make sure to check them out. And there's an MMO that I was super excited for. I don't know if I'm still super excited for, but Riot's new MMO has decided to reset the direction of the game, and the team is going dark under a new boss.
This is what it stemmed from. I didn't know about the new boss part.
Yes.
About
Yeah,
this,
they're rebuilding it from the ground up.
Yeah, okay. Riot actually just came out and kind of I think we talked about this last week if I'm not mistaken, but again, it kind of came out and was like, hey, we are resetting a whole bunch of shit. And so this is one of them. They just went through a bunch of layoffs and closures too. Some of their stuff is getting shifted. So, and this was again one of the things that we were kind of like eyeballing, because, you know, again, give it to us to predict the future, but we were like, that's really weird. The Riot's MMO is not on that list. And then all of a sudden now this is there. So, what's your guys' take on this? I mean, I think it can be good. I think it can be bad. Like,
I mean, I think it's a good thing in the instance of like any game these days that is like really vocal about like what their development, everything like that. While it's great for engagement with the player base, you start building up towards like Cyberpunk, right, where it was overhyped, underdeveloped, or underperformed, right? So it's one of those instances where I think that going dark is probably the best option for them, because they can just put their heads down and actually get to work with it.
To be fair too, like we weren't gonna see this game for a good few years anyways.
It's an MMO. I would have been surprised to see it within 6 years, honestly, but that's me.
Me too, honestly. The Rainbow Six time.
The bad side of it, I am extremely worried about the fact that like they're this early in development and they're already shifting bosses. That's not a good sign, right? Like that's a really bad sign, and when it comes down to it, I'm really hoping that it doesn't turn into a development hell. That's what worries me.
Look at what happened in New World, right? New World was the same thing.
New World,
that new one that's coming out too did the same thing. The one that you're excited for. So
there's been several
Ashes of Creation.
No. The one that was like a idle game before, then it turned into a action combat.
Throne and Liberty.
Throne and Liberty. Yeah, they did the same thing.
Yep.
So
but that's my biggest worry right there is just like it going into development hell, and then eventually it just continues to cycle through developers.
Right.
Bloodlands 2 is doing that right now. They've been in development hell recently, just because again they're cycling through higher ups, they're cycling through bosses, they're cycling through developers. So it's going to be really interesting to see the direction that this game goes, depending on who the boss is and who the developers are.
What was that game build that you were playing that Square Enix did, and it went through? Didn't it go through something similar to this? I don't know if it went through a lot of resets.
Forspoken and Forspoken, it went through 2 resets. So.
I mean, it's not always the worst thing. It's just as long as like Enigma.
As long as enough time is given to the new project, because what ends up happening and what happened with Forspoken was it resets halfway through development, and they didn't extend the development time because they had the Sony contract. So
I mean,
as long as it's given enough time to rebuild and actually like flesh out, I see no problem with it.
Final Fantasy 14 go through a whole rehaul, like in the early stages.
Final Fantasy went through a fucking destroy the world.
The biggest
fucking game
rehauls of a game ever.
They
and now look at it, you know.
Yeah, so. They did. Hold on, but well, to be clear, they reset that game after it launched. They were like,
I know.
To be fair, they also have a development team that is specifically up until what did they? Which one did they develop recently? Was it 16? That Yoshida did.
Yeah.
Or that Yoshi P did. Yeah. Up until recently, that was literally the only thing that they ever worked on was Final Fantasy 14, pretty much.
Right.
So that like they are them specifically are like the unicorn of development, pretty much. So we can only hope. We can only hope that that's the kind of treatment that this.
Did any of you guys play that game before it went?
I only heard about it.
I did not play it. I played after Realm Reborn, but like right after Realm Reborn. But I know for a fact that it was terrible.
I played that game before it was. I paid for my pre-order. I fucking waited in line. Yep. I logged in, and then I was like, "What the fuck is this
shit on?"
Yeah, and I was like,
So maybe that's a bit of an extreme, but still, there is hope still at this point in the game. We don't know totally. It all depends on the direction it is going.
The only thing that this thing really has like going for it that's like a solid, right, is they already have the war done.
Right. So they have all their cards in check.
We've talked about this in the past where like they are at the precipice of like what the World of Warcraft was when it first started being developed, right? When World of Warcraft first started being developed, they had years and years and years worth of lore pre-established. Now that this is being developed, they now have years and years and years and years worth of lore already developed to pull off of, and they just have to pull off of it. So
I mean, so here's exactly what was said, right? So Meryl, which is he's Tyrandamir on X, he goes, resetting our development path also means we'll be going dark for a long time, like several years. The silence will help provide space for the team to focus on the incredible amount of work ahead of them. We understand the excitement and anticipation that surrounds new information, but we ask for your trust during the silent phase. He also said, "Hey y'all, we know many of you are hungry for news about the Riot Games MMO project. We really appreciate your patience and the incredible support you've shown for us so far. I'm writing to update you today on where we're at. And before anybody panics, yes, we are still working on the game. # League of Legends." He went on to kind of say more and more and more, but you know, and he introduced a new executive producer of the game or whatever else. So I mean, I hope that the game still comes out, and I do believe that like Riot will give enough leeway. Like if this was Amazon, I'd be like, oh, we're all fucked. You know, but I will give them hope that there's enough leeway that they will say, hey, this is going to be a moneymaker. You know, and we are going to give you the time that you need to develop this. But I don't know. I mean, here's to hoping. So, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed the patch notes. And if you want to join us live, we stream every single Thursday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube as well as on Twitch. Also, if you miss a show, you can always catch us at anchor.fm/pre-patch podcast or wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the show.